welcome to the DMT podcast, which is an insider view to what's happening in the West End, particularly at the Comedy About Spies, the latest production from Mischief Theatre. Now, in my deep diving research, I decided to look at your website, and it said what we do. We give everyone the opportunity to let go and embrace some silliness. And I have to say, having seen the show, I absolutely agree. I resonate with that so much. It was fantastic, and I laughed out loud. I thought it was a great night. I really did. A great night at the theatre, and you are to be commended for that. And I'm saying you because we are delighted to have with us Adele James, who's making her debut with Mischief Theatre, I believe. But we've also got Dave Hearn, who is a founding member. And I'd just probably start with you, Dave, if you don't mind, just to get us into the zone. Tell us what the show is about. I know there's 4 sets. And I was speaking to someone and they said, oh, it's like a Battenberg cake.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So the show is essentially, the headlines of the show are the CIA and the KGB are both looking for a secret document that's been stolen from MI6. And the document is going to be handed over at this Piccadilly hotel. And at the same time, a couple who are one is trying to propose to the other, is kind of embroiled in the spy games. And then, cue farce.
Well, it certainly does cue a farce. And being new to it, Adele, you've come into this very established company. How does that feel? Is it? Don't look at him. Just tell me. How does that go? Have you been welcomed with open arms? Have you found it a struggle? It's an insider podcast, so feel free to dish the dirt.
Actually, there is no goss. It's been great. I workshopped the play with Mischief in September of last year for 6 weeks, and it really has just been like one of the most incredible experiences of my career. They are very, very welcoming as a company. It's very playful. It's a lot of fun.
It would appear that as an audience member, you're watching this fast-paced thing happening, going. And the heart of it, though, there has to be a lot of hard work. I mean, timing is everything. And when you're on that set and there's 4 different bits that can't see each other, how do you manage the timing of that to make that work, Dave?
It's a nightmare. If you want the insider info.
Of course we do.
The Battenberg that you're referring to is if you're looking at it from the audience perspective, there's 2 rooms side by side at the bottom and 2 rooms side by side at the top. So it looks like you've kind of cut into a Battenberg cake. And one of the things that Mischief that we get a lot in interviews, and one of the things that I often take for granted is that because we've all worked together for such a long time, we have a lot of chemistry, there's a lot of alchemy that kind of mixes together to make the shows really fun and fast and special.
And shorthand, I guess, as well.
Exactly, yeah. And that shorthand translates to like microtransactions on stage. So I can step on stage with Henry Lewis, who I've known for nearly 20 years, and sort of within a few seconds know what mood he's in and know how we're going to negotiate the scene, where the beats are and the jokes and stuff. And speaking to Henry Lewis and Henry Shields, who are the 2 writers of the show.
2 Henrys, but 1 scarce.
Yeah. They inadvertently removed our superpower, which is that alchemy, because we can't see each other. The Battenberg sequence was the one that we spent the most time on in the workshop and in the rehearsal. And John Fiber, who's our sound designer, has very craftily hidden some speakers in all of our rooms, so that we can hear more clearly what's going on in the other rooms. It's hard sometimes to time the joke because sometimes you can't see what the audience is laughing at. So what I would say is that it's trying to like walk through a labyrinth blindfolded, and it's just blind trust in the jokes that are working and really keying in the listening to what the audience is responding to.
I mean, you make that sound easy, but we know it's not. That is an extraordinary skill, and I have to commend you for it, because as an audience, but to go back to the legend that you have on the website about the silliness, the joke, right? That one of the upfront jokes about the alarm. I'm not going to waste it, but the joke about the alarm. It just set it off for me. The whole after that, it just flowed. It was just so fabulously funny and but clever with it. And that's, I think, proper, true professionalism, in my humble opinion, that you could make something like that look so easy, because it isn't. And it must be a nightmare backstage as well. Adele, do you find that people are running around, or?
This is probably one of the busiest shows I've ever worked on in terms of the backstage track. And we have quite a lot of space, by most theatres' estimation. But it is very, very busy. We've got lots of very big pieces of set back there that are moving at lightning speed. And it's kind of, I always describe it as like a dance backstage. But it's so much fun, there's like a theatre show off stage that's a theatre show on stage. It's brilliant.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't become noises off, that would not be a good thing.
No, yeah.
Think back to the play that goes wrong. It's how pathetic my life is, or the chosen profession, I should say, that I've had. I could not believe what a health and safety nightmare that must be, to be on stage doing those things. I mean, how does that work in terms of, do you do it all and then work out what could be safe, or do you just go along with it and refine it?
It sort of depends on who's doing what. I would say I'm probably a little more gung-ho when it comes to
and there's the wicked smile, listeners, that I can just witness right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more confident in terms of throwing myself into stuff. But ultimately, like, the question that is asked in the rehearsals and the workshops is, can you do that 8 times a week? My response often is, well, I've just done it once, so yeah. But actually, it's a very good question, because injuries can kind of compound even if you don't feel them necessarily at the time. But yeah, the idea, particularly when we get new casts in, is to just try and find ultimately the safest, most consistent way of doing something that still gives the effect that we want. And if there is an actor who doesn't feel safe, or for a variety of different reasons might not be able to do the sequence as is written, then we accommodate for that person and we rewrite it and we re-choreograph it. So safety is really important, and looking after people is really important.
I would also say stamina. I mean, Adele, did you get up to speed with that in terms of the racing around?
Yeah, you learn. I mean, I think all theatre requires an incredible amount of stamina. The amount of adrenaline that's pumping through your body when you do something live like that is crazy. But for something like this, where it's actually like very, very technical and very precise, and also where we're literally sprinting at speed for a lot of the show, you do need a lot of stamina. But I have to say as well, like, just kind of talking on what you and Dave were just speaking on, a lot of it is testament to the crew as well. Like, this really is a team sport, and a lot of the things that you're seeing happening that feel dangerous or feel kind of like high octane are due to the incredible work that is going on just outside of the window in the Battenberg, outside of one of the hotel rooms. So yeah, it's a real kind of like feat of every person that is on and off stage.
And as Dave said, also, it's not just the once, but it's 8 times a week.
Yeah.
And I think, Adele's right. Like, the crew really put in a shift every show to make sure that everything's working as it should be, and that we're safe. And there's lots of like safety measures put in place to ensure that people feel comfortable. And also, I mean, like, they warm up as well. It's like an F1 pit crew. Like, they're just running around making sure they don't get injuries as well, because they're moving huge bits of set at like terrifying speed. And it's really impressive what they're doing.
Just to go back a bit to Mischief, as a concept, I know that it was you'd been at Lambda, and was it 4 of you at that point that founded it?
Back in 2007, 2008, a lot of us were on the foundation course, and we started as like an improv company. There was probably in total about 13 people that sort of bought into it, so we could take a show to Edinburgh. But the amount of people that kind of stayed from that group was very, very, very small. Just because we were rehearsing every Saturday and some quite rightly so, people just didn't always want to do that, which is fair. And other actors kind of dropped off because they wanted to focus on other things. And over the years, we've just sort of attracted this sort of group of freaks, I guess, that we are. We just sort of like,
I'm just noting that side look from Adele there.
yeah.
I'll take it.
I think, yeah, there's a very specific type of person that sort of sticks around with us. Because we ask a lot of ourselves, and then in turn we ask a lot of new people coming in. And I think the people that kind of stick around are the people that are excited by what we're doing and are excited by creating something new. And Adele and I were talking earlier about being excited about just pushing against what's possible quite a lot, and just seeing, like, if we've got one joke, how many laughs can we extract from that gag?
Excellent. And also Edinburgh was, in terms of the development of the company, Edinburgh was quite important, wasn't it?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, really big.
And I suppose that's where you're honing your skill as well. You're hearing responses and thinking that works, that doesn't.
Yeah, I think I took for granted, and I've always taken for granted, the experience that's been offered by the years of just doing shows like this, but also the improv shows, the years and years of doing gigs on the mile in the pouring rain, the years of doing gigs at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning to like a drunk audience, trying to win competitions so you can pitch your show, and sometimes performing comedy in like the most sort of hostile environments that you can imagine. I mean, we did a couple of late night shows where the audience would literally shout "die" if they didn't like what you were doing. And it was just like last person standing. And so, but if you win, you kind of get to pitch your show to them. And yeah, so these are all like really intense sort of environments in which to learn. But it was not until I really started going back and teaching that actually I realized how much I'd learned over the years of doing it. And when you're surrounded by the other people in Mischief that have been doing it at the same time, like, you desensitize to that. And then you meet people that have never done comedy or never done improv, and you're like, oh wow, like, yeah, there is lots of stuff that we've learned from doing those really, really long. We did Edinburgh for 10 years, so lots of lots of steep learning curves every time.
Yeah, I mean, I just, when I hear that and the sort of, the way that's all developed, to come into it, Adele, I think great admiration for you to be able to fold into what is this, cannonball express of Mischief, really. You were doing recently, you were Queen Cleopatra in a Netflix series. It's not exactly what I would call an immediate jump, is it?
It's not the most natural transition in the world. No,
for sure.
There are elements. I don't know. There are elements of Rosemary that I feel. I think there's always like a little part of the role I did before that kind of like slides in to what I'm doing
Queen
currently.
Cleopatra and Rosemary, right? Go on.
Well, you've also got to add in Emily Bronte somewhere in the middle, because that's what I was doing last year. And there's a kind of like I don't know. There's an energy to the three women that I feel is not so dissimilar, just very different circumstances. But no, I don't know. I mean, I think some days I feel that, yes, like what you've just described, but most of the time it just feels like the most natural thing in the world. Like, they've really embraced me with such kindness and care. They've never made me feel like the new person, or like that was a bad thing, or like I needed to catch up. And I often feel like I need to catch up, but they're really very encouraging, and I think that's the best environment for a show like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you write down and you say you do. You seem to do it. It's actually quite unusual these days.
Yeah. I think as well, to say for Adele, like, the thing, this is something for me personally, but I think the view is very much shared amongst the company, is that when Adele came in from the workshop, it was just very evident that she was just a very, very good actor. And ultimately, like, regardless of how funny people are, you know, their comedy experience, the thing that we always look for in all of our shows is to try and hire people who are just really good actors, who are really good at telling the story, who are really good at understanding what their character is trying to do, because usually the character's want is linked in some way to the punchline, right? So if you've got someone who can play the scene really truthfully and really well, then it's easy to lay a comedy on top or teach, but you can't spend time being like, oh, you're really getting the jokes, but we need you to be a better actor. And so actually,
that would be an awkward conversation.
yeah, exactly. It's definitely the right way round to have it. And so I think that's why, partly why hopefully Adele feels welcome, is because there's a place for everyone who's works really hard, who's up for failing, who can tolerate us, but also is just a really good actor.
Well, you're in your beliefs, laughter is a tonic, and the power of the ensemble. I love that, and I think that to me is one of the successes of of what you do. Is that it's not, oh, here are the stars and here's the people at the back that support us. It flows. It's just such a great flow, and it comes from nowhere. Sometimes you think, oh my God, I didn't expect that, and that comes from I guess, a maturity and a confidence maybe that you've built up over the years, so that you can bring new people in and not worry about them being overtaking the whole thing or being diminished by it. You're all part of that. But I mean, it's fascinating to me how you develop that as a company, and that says a lot about the founding members, if you like, because that was what you wanted to achieve, and I'm seeing Adele nodding, so I'm thinking we're on the right track here, folks. Not to blow smoke up here, but you're obviously very good at what you do.
Well, we'd like to think so. You said it's confidence, it's probably arrogance. Now, I think the
Don't ruin it.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I think because when we started, particularly, like, we were all students, right, when we started doing improv. And I remember the weeks of hauling my ass across Edinburgh carrying a keyboard or carrying like boxes of 10,000 flyers and putting up posters, and also learning how to hang lights and set up a lighting desk and like get a PA system going so I could play the house music. And like these are stuff that we have professional, real good people to do now, but they were things that we all had to do ourselves. And so that's kind of always carried through. And we built the play that goes wrong ourselves. We wrote it, sourced all the costumes, like did the get-ins and get-outs. We had no additional support because we couldn't pay anyone to do that. And so that's kind of the foundation on which it's all built. And so it is a team game. So we have a profound respect for the people off stage, but also have an awareness that when you're bringing someone new into potentially quite a dangerous environment, like physically, that actually you need to trust them and they need to trust you. The thing we always say to each other, like particularly before the improv shows, is I'm going to try and make you look good. I'm going to try and do my best to make sure you get all the laughs and set you up for those kind of things, and you'll do the same for me. So regardless of whether you're getting a big celebrity star in or someone new, it's about making them a part of the team. And if their part of the team is to be the star, then that's what the show requires, and that's fine. But actually, it's just about ensuring that everybody knows that they are welcome and that they feel safe, and that we're able to just make 1,000 people laugh is just a great job.
Yeah, and that is a real skill, though. You've reminded me of a man called Ricky Fulton, who, when I ran the King's Theatre in Glasgow, and he did the pantomimes, and he off stage, he was the dourest man you would ever meet. He was so kind of like, and in fact, on television, he had a character called I Am Jolly, and he was like, "Hello, how are you?" It was all very downbeat, and that was kind of close to the kind of person he was. But the minute he went on stage, and I walked from his dressing room one night where he's giving me into trouble for something that happened, and he and got to the side of the stage and walked on, and within 5 seconds, his facial expressions had changed from rage to making the audience laugh. And I remember almost gasping at that ability. That it's hard to it's a real kind of hard thing to do. And not everybody can walk on stage and make people laugh, and you do. Again, and it's like this is a fan club here, but
I'm enjoying it. Keep going.
It's such a great
No
thing
questions
to experience.
needed.
No. But as an audience member, in terms of what you mentioned earlier, Dave, about the founding members, there were more of them, but things happen and they drop out. What I'm hearing through this interview is that as there's been a hell of a lot of hard work has got you to where you are. And a lot of people, particularly nowadays, don't necessarily want to put the hard work in. They just want the moment of fame. And I'd imagine you both must be asked by young performers, I'm sure you've had it, Adele, I see you nodding, how can I get into this and what can I do? The dragging of leaflets over Edinburgh and not having people to do stuff for you, you get on and do it. But what advice could you give to young performers, Adele?
The advice I frequently do give to people is to keep putting one foot in front of the other, but honestly, it's to look after what's going on upstairs, to look after your emotional health, to make sure that you have kind of the internal space and security to sustain the career long term, because what we're really talking about is building a portfolio of work over hopefully decades. Whether you have a theatre company like Mischief or whether you bounce from gig to gig like I do across different mediums, it's all kind of a different version of the same thing, right? You don't necessarily know when the next job is coming. And I think a lot of the hard work that needs to be done is internal, personally. At least that's been my experience. And it's what I offer to people. And then I guess within or outside of that, there are like practical things that you can do to keep going forward. And I do think there is a degree of like sitting down at your computer and like tapping away and writing the cover letters and sending those out. Like I do think there is work that needs to be done, and I couldn't say whether or not people do or don't value that more than they did, but I definitely think that still does need to be done. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Now we're hurtling towards the end of the interview. I just want to ask Dave, what's next for Mischief? I know you're doing this fabulous thing at the moment, but it's always what's next.
Yeah, so we're running this show until September, and then people keep asking if the show's going to have a life after September. The honest answer is I don't know. That's up to the people with the money, I guess. And we're doing Christmas Carol Goes Wrong is the next show, which will be doing a kind of mini tour and then coming to London for 7 weeks and then doing a little tour after that. And then we will continue to keep pitching theatre shows, TV shows. The writers are inhuman in the amount of stuff that they can produce and the work that they put in. But it's the kind of old adage of success is good fortune meets hard work. The writers particularly are working very, very hard writing new things. But the good fortune is someone to come along and pick stuff up. So yeah, I think Mischief's always got plans, but whether someone wants to sign off on those, that's the different thing.
That's showbiz. Listen, I could talk to you for ages, but you've got a show to do apart from anything else. Minor details. So I would just like to say thank you, Adele James and Dave Hearn. Thank you very much. And the Comedy About Spies continues at the Noel Card until the 5th of September. And I wish you all the success in the world. You deserve it. And if you haven't seen it yet, folks, get along and do yourself a favour. You'll have a right good laugh. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Billy.
Absolutely gorgeous.